William, KTN News.
Beekeeping is an important economic activity in the arid and semi-arid lands in Kenya. The area has plenty of flora that is important for bee feeding, but the beekeeping potential is not yet fully realized. Let me just walk you through what the data says. Only about 20% of the annual honey production potential, that's about 25,000 metric tons, is achieved in Kenya, leaving the full potential of 100,000 metric tons unrealized. Kenya is the third important producer of honey in Africa after Ethiopia and Tanzania. The apiculture policy has broadly promoted a modern beekeeping industry to provide additional income for rural households. Now, the traditional log hives contribute 80% of the honey produced, while modern hives such as the Kenya topper, Langstroth hives, and mixed modern traditional hives produce the rest. About 91,000 persons are directly employed in beekeeping. All right, so beekeeping is a widespread and global activity with millions of beekeepers depending on bees for their livelihoods and well-being. But the sector has not been fully harnessed in Kenya, despite its ecosystem importance to humans and environment. Ezekiel Mumo Mwanzia is from Bee Farmers Hub Limited, and he gives us some insights in relation to farming and sustainability in the beekeeping sector. Welcome to Business Cafe.
Thank you very much, Brenda.
All right, so Ezekiel, when you're looking at beekeeping as a business, how much capital do you need to start with in terms of the money? And at the same time, what are some of the capital goods required when you're getting into beekeeping?
For you to start a beekeeping, you need an average of around 10,000 shillings as a beekeeper, and that caters for the cost of a beehive. Because for you to call yourself a beekeeper, you must have the basic production unit, which is a beehive. Yes.
That's about how much when you get in the beehive? Total cost associated with setting up the business before you start production?
That's around 10,000 shillings. Includes a hive that is called Langstroth hive, plus a setting hub, and probably waxing and everything. And then you have a ready beehive. That is around one beehive.
All right.
Yes.
What about the area, the land that is required for this activity?
Well, originally, beekeeping has been widespread mostly across the arid and semi-arid areas. And that is the areas what you call the honey belts, Baringo, Ukambani, and some parts of Taita. And there are specific things that you look for when you want to do beekeeping. One of them is the availability of forage, water, and also distance from people or from human activity. So those are some of the factors that you should consider before setting up your hive. And in this case, a hive is only one beehive, but you need probably around more than 10 hives for you to call yourself as someone that is in business.
A commercial producer?
Yes, yes.
All right, so when you have this beehive, exactly how much does it produce? And talk us through the harvesting cycle. I understand it's at least 4 times in a year?
Well, we have different types of hives, and production is dependent on the hive and also mostly on the area where you set up your beehive. And currently we have more than 10 hives, but the ones that are mostly known are the Langstroth hive, or I start with the log hive, which very many people are aware about. The log hives that were used by the traditional beekeepers. The next hive is what we call the Kenyatta hive, looks like a wedge shaped. And then we have a Langstroth, which has a lot of improvements now. Currently we have a lot of hives from the Langstroth, which we call the floor hive, the the horizontal Langstroth hive, and all that. Each of those hives produces different amounts of honey at any given time. But averagely, a Langstroth hive is supposed to give you around 8 kilograms per harvest. And during a good year, where there's a widespread or where there's a well spread of forage, you're able to get around 30 to 35 kilograms per one beehive. Yes.
And then how much do I get now in return as a farmer? How much does it sell in the market?
Well, farm gate prices from honey would differ from the retail prices, but currently honey retails is around 700 shillings to 1,000 shillings per kilogram. Yes.
All right, so you're talking about an average farmer is making around how much?
With the one beehive, you can comfortably make around 20,000 shillings from one beehive.
Oh, wow. So after you deduct all your costs?
Yes.
So that's You're good to go with the 20K?
Yes.
All right. So there have been a lot of challenges when it comes to beekeeping in the country. And let's begin with the climate changes, because it's not yet resilient even in these specific sectors. What are some of the notable changes that you've seen when it comes to these insects?
Well, I would say one of the great scientists, Albert Einstein, said, if the bee dies today, the human race would take only 4 years and all of us are eradicated. You note that the bee, we have different species of bees, but mostly the one that is known is the stinging bee, or the African bee, the one that gives us honey. And the bee plays a very important role in pollination, around 80%. And mostly, human beings depend on food for their survival. And that food comes from plants. And how do you get food? Or how do you get production in plants? Through pollination. So bees are a very important insect in the world. And despite the use of pesticide, the global warming and other things are affecting the population of bees. And mostly that is in Europe and now some parts of Africa. Although Africa is not very much affected by much affected by the changes in terms of the climate and all that, like Europe and some parts of Europe, Yes.
All right, so we are seeing a decrease in terms of the bees that were there before, let's say 10 years ago?
There is quite a big decrease of bees when you compare from 10 years ago, because of the continuous use of pesticides, because apparently bees are insects, but we group them as a livestock. So when you spray your plants or flowers and bees visit the flower, most of them would die. Then also, secondly, we had, like in Kenya, there's a very low production. With a reduced production of honey because of the use of pesticides and mostly in control of locusts. You know, when you spray locust, a lot of bees dies, and then with a lot of challenges for beekeepers, because you would have a lot of hives but with no bees, or your bees have died. Yes.
All right. So the FAO, the Food Agriculture Organization, this year's theme for the World Bee Day, the agenda mostly is around sustainability farming in beekeeping. How then do you do this sustainably? Because like you're saying, you're dealing with one problem of the fall armyworms, and at the same time, you still have to keep the bees so that you can continue pollinating the flowers.
I would like to expound and say that the World Bee Day, which is celebrated today, 20th of every May, was started in 2018. That was the first celebration that we had, and I was privileged to be part of that celebration that was held in Kapenguria. The second one was held in Nairobi in Railway Sports Club, and for 2020 and 2021 we did not have World Bee Day because of Corona. But today we are having a World Bee celebration in Nyayo Gardens in Nakuru. So the World Bee Day is a day that was set aside to sensitize farmers, not even farmers, but human beings, that the bee is a very important insect in the human race. The World Bee celebration is not for the bee, but for us as human beings to exactly learn this is a creature or an insect that we should regard with the highest regard. Because if now we eradicate bees or there are no pollination, then we are in danger. Yes. All
right. So how then do you farm sustainably? Because at the same time, even you farmers want to protect the environment.
It happens that currently there's a lot of push, and farmers are really looking forward to using what we call organic chemicals, sprays, and they can be homemade. So when you spray your crops or your fruits with the organic chemicals, you do not pose a danger to bees and other insects. So if farming sustainably means incorporating your farming beekeeping activity with the rest of the farm, with probably using less sprays, or you can even spray at the dusk when it is in the evening, or you use organic sprays. That one would probably help very much in reduction of the death of bees. Yes.
All right. So from the data prepared by Calro, we did see that Kenya is not using its full potential when it comes to production of honey, because it still has a lot of potential. What are some of the challenges that are associated with this? Why are we not producing as much as we actually can?
I would say beekeeping first is prohibitive. Prohibitive in nature, in the fact that very many people, when they hear of a bee, they think of the stings. So, irrespective of whether you are very big or small tract of land, people tend to fear first. And then secondly, there is very little information regards beekeeping in the public. And then also thirdly, the prices of the beekeeping equipment sometimes are prohibitive, not unless you're using the traditional ones logs. So when you combine all those factors, you find that the potential has not been really utilized. Currently, we almost import 80% of around 80% of the honey that we consume locally, because even when you look, most of the communities that are doing beekeeping are mostly employing the use of traditional methods, and then that honey is not up to the standards. Probably you cannot even get passed through a lot of certification like KEBS to even get to your table. Yeah, so, and the people that are doing the sustainable form of beekeeping using the modern technology and equipment are very few currently, yes.
So what policies should be introduced so that we can encourage more production?
I would like to first of all appreciate the Minister of Agriculture and the Livestock for coming up and supporting a body that is called APK, or Apiculture Platform for Kenya. That is a body that encompasses all, takes into consideration all beekeepers under different capacities. That is, if you are a researcher, a beekeeper, a capacity building agent in the beekeeping industry. So they come up with laws to control and the sector, because currently the sector is informal, very informal. Anyone can just keep bees, anyone can start producing the hives. Because first of all, as a beekeeper, you need to get it from the word go. That is probably by training and also by getting the right equipment. So APK registers all the beekeepers in terms of the equipment sellers and also the trainers, so that if someone wants to get into beekeeping, they are sure of they are getting the right equipment from the right suppliers, and also they are getting the right training from the registered and the acknowledged people by APK. Yes. All
right. So Ezekiel, we don't have so many of people your age, getting into beekeeping or bee farming. Why is this? Because majority of the people who are actually the farmers are still very elderly. We're talking about people who are above 55 still doing it. Why aren't the youth taking up this venture?
First of all, very few people or very few youth of my age have land. And for you to keep bees, you need land. So that is one of the prohibitive factors. Secondly, beekeeping does not look flashy or does not look very attractive. So you find that many people are not willing to indulge in it. And also thirdly, beekeeping is not a make quick money scheme. You have to wait. In fact, when you set up your hive, right today, you're going to wait for around 6 months before you get to your first harvest. That is money that you've invested there. Yes. So, and also, secondly, I think also I also tend, most of the beekeepers are people that have disposable income and have very little time they want to engage in an activity that takes very little of their time while they are doing the other things. So very few that have disposable income that they can probably put there and wait 6 months as you do your other activity. So when you combine all those factors together, you find that not very many youth of my age are into beekeeping. Although currently I appreciate that we've been having a turnaround around beekeeping, and we are seeing a lot of uptake by the youth.
What is driving that uptake? What do they want? Why are they suddenly developing some little interest?
Because they've seen others that have excelled in the same. Because like me, this is my almost 10th year in beekeeping. So the ones that probably we've interacted, they've also tried. And I can assure you, most of my friends have bought beehives. I mean, because they've seen it is an activity that will give them returns. Yes, and also, one beehive would give you around 10 kgs of honey. So per harvest is around 10,000 shillings. Yes, that is not a pocket change.
All right. So very quick, even as we finish, there are other byproducts that include wax and also, candles made from wax. How are these performing in the market, the byproducts of bee farming?
Just to mention, the products of bees are around 6. We have the honey, which is mostly known. We have wax, we have propolis, we have the venom, we have pollen, and then we also have royal jelly. apparently, honey is the cheapest amongst all, because all the other products are not less than 1,000 shillings per kg on retail currently here locally.
Is it because they're scarce or not so many people are doing it?
They are scarce, and also their use is mostly, because like quark is mostly used in the cosmetic industry, and most of the wax that is produced locally, I can assure you, is exported to Europe. It makes a lot of the more cosmetics industry stuff that women use. Then we also have propolis that is mostly used for as an antibacterial for coughing kids, or to just clean up your duct, your digestion duct and all that, yeah. So apart from honey, when you do beekeeping, you are with yourself have a lot of advantages, because you can still harvest all these other products. It only determines which product you want to measure or focus on.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Ezekiel. We have been talking about bee farming in Kenya. Of course, Ezekiel Mumo Mwanzia is from the Bee Farmers Hub Limited. I've been your host, Brenda Kirubu. Thank you so much for keeping me company for the whole week. Of course, the conversation doesn't stop here. We'll be giving you more details on news making headlines in our business segment. Business Today is on at 3 p.m. Have a lovely day.